What's up, guys? Pypo here, bringing you a video today of a new leveling series that I'm starting that's going to be a little bit different than something and anything else I've done on the YouTube channel, which is called the Iron Man Challenge. I was streaming earlier today, and the viewers in my stream basically told me a good idea for a new leveling series and a new type of video that would be interesting to watch, and it's called the Iron Man Challenge. Now, if you're unaware of what the Iron Man Challenge is, I was also unaware until they described it to me. Basically, I am not allowed to spec my character in any way. I'm not allowed to choose affliction, not allowed to choose anything like that. Obviously, the class is up to you, up to your choice, up to your discretion. You're not allowed to obviously use any of your talents, which I don't think you can do at all if you're not spec anyway. You're not allowed to use any gear that is above white value, meaning that the gear I have right now that's white like this is the best gear that I can use. If I find white gear that's somehow better than that, meaning it has, you know, more armor on it, which I think all white gear just has armor, I'm allowed to upgrade that alone, but I'm not allowed to upgrade any gear in any other way at all. Now, on top of that, I'm not allowed to send myself gold or bags. I have to start a brand new character like it's vanilla, like it's my first character on the accounts. And on top of that is permadeath. Once I die, the game is over. I am no longer allowed to play. I have to delete the character and all that stuff as well. Basically, anything you can think of that would make the game easier, I'm not allowed to do it. I'm allowed to quest, I'm allowed to grind, I'm allowed to kill mobs, but I'm not allowed to do dungeons, I'm not allowed to be in groups, and I'm not allowed to be in a guild. So all of these things I will not be doing on this series. It will just be me on Burnt Cake, my level 2 Warlock right now, me grinding up and me killing mobs and me doing quests while being in shitty fucking gear, trying to get to max level. Now the first 10 levels are going to be pretty easy and pretty quick because I imagine they will be the same as leveling from 1 to 10 as usual. Obviously I'm not going to be able to have BO8 gear, so the quests aren't going to give me any extra experience, which is kind of rough. That's kind of the main point of this is it's meant to be challenging. It's the whole point of this. It's meant to be challenging because WoW these days, you guys probably know, not that challenging anymore. I mean, unless you're doing mythical raiding or extreme heroic fucking hardcore raiding, then you're not going to really be getting a challenge from the game. I mean, PvP is fun, but I wouldn't say PvP is challenging, you know what I mean? It's not a challenging game to PvP in. You can do average at PvP at WoW just by picking it up and like kind of learning your class and that sort of thing. It's not that big of a deal. But once you kind of get your shit done and once you get your shit together, I mean, it's gonna get rough once you get your stuff down and you're grinding away. Already, I meant to be able to do a quest that I just picked up, and I can't do it because I'm not actually. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough experience at level 3 when I get the ability. I'm supposed to use my corruption. So on top of that, guys, I'm not going to be able to get any spec-specific stuff. So what you see in my spellwork right here is all I'm going to have, which is pretty fucking rough. I'm going to have pets. I'm going to have shadow bolts. I'm going to have fear. I'm going to have, I have Kilrog, Soulstone. I'm going to have Enslaved Demon. I mean, when was the last time anyone ever used Enslaved Demon? When was that a fucking thing? Good lord. I don't think it is a thing, to be honest with you. I can have Unending Resolve, Summon Infernal, my portals that can port me, Blood Pact, Dark Intent, Demonic Gateway. So my only attacks are going to be Shadow Bolt and Corruption. I can use Fear as a CC, and that, I think, is legitimately the only way I will be able to DPS. So, naturally, these videos are going to be fucking rough to watch if I keep it at a slow, me just doing an hour-long quest chain pace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit these up and cut them into little kind of bite-sized pieces, maybe 10-minute long leveling videos of me doing a quest or being on a journey sort of thing, and make sure that I cut out anything that's super boring. But on top of that, guys, this series will be a lot of me just speaking. It might be a lot about like situations, because obviously I might find myself in a lot of shitty situations if I kill too many mobs at once or I go too ham-fisted at something. I might end up in a sticky situation. Obviously, because it is permadeath, those sticky situations could lead to a lot of shit. The first sticky situation I'm going to find myself in is in the fact that I don't have any fucking bags. I got one small pouch from a quest, which actually, usually you'd think, that's not a big deal. One small pouch, I have 16 slot bags already. For Pips, when he has no bags at all, it's going to be a rough time. It's going to be a rough... You have to practice this 5 times. What does Blizz think this is making you do? I have to stand here and do fucking corruption on dummies. Just just a rough fucking way to make people do that. I don't like to actually think like, oh, they're getting better because they use corruption a few times. I don't believe that. Also, I cannot use any professions because professions obviously can be used to up your DPS and up your sort of stuff. The only profession I'm allowed to use is my first aid if wanted. Let's get over here. What am I doing? I immediately figured out how to quest here. It's been a while. So if I want to get my first aid up, I can. I don't know if I will, because obviously to get my first aid up, it involves farming my own gold without professions, then getting the cloth that I need from like the auction house with the gold that I just preciously fucking got. So it's gonna be really hard if I want to get my professions up to be able to get like the linen, basically. The linen needed to get my professions up would be rough to farm. So probably not a thing I'll do. If I find some linen and it just happens to be my bags, it might happen. But the reason I wanted to do this as well is because it's been a long time since I genuinely actually leveled by questing and just leveled through zones. Like I can't remember the last time I leveled through like an STV or something like that was. I immediately get myself into a bit of a horrible situation. If I died at level fucking 3, that would be just fucking hilarious. Good lord. My corruptions, the thing is, I remember playing in Affliction Warlock with BOA gear, and my corruptions would tick maybe 3 times and everything would be dead. Now it's getting to the end of a tick before something dies, so it's a bit on the rougher side as far as time goes. And my time played is going to be, you know, I've been on for 2 minutes. Time played 10 days, 50 fucking seconds. It's been 10 minutes and I'm level 3. Usually you'd be like level 5 by now, but you know, that's just the way it goes when you're playing these sorts of games and doing these sorts of things. But what I'm going to do in this leveling series, guys, is use it as a way to do what I used to do, which is tell my stories and my lovely leveling stories that I used to tell, and actually use it to retell some of the stories that I think a lot of you missed, because I uploaded a lot of my leveling videos back when I was 500 subscribers. The first leveling video I ever did, I think I had like 300 subscribers. Like I had hardly any subscribers, and I was like, I want to make a warrior. I'm gonna go do a leveling series. That's literally just how that happened. So I was like, fuck it. You know, I'll make a leveling series. And I told all of these stories about my life that I don't think a lot of you actually know or actually have seen, because those were so long ago. The only way you would have seen them is if you actually looked up my old leveling series or went through playlists and stuff like that to find them. Which I don't think many people do. I don't think many people are going onto my videos and searching through playlists to find old content. So I thought, fuck it, since the first leveling video I ever did, I explained who I was and what my life story kind of was. I thought I'd do the same thing in this one, just to kind of give you guys that nostalgia, that reminiscent kind of thing. So basically the title of my old video was being fat, like weed and stuff, or like the army or something. So I'm not gonna keep to it 100%, but I'm gonna tell the same story. So basically, I want to talk about when I was super fat and tried to join the army, and on top of that, I might talk about my blood pressure and shit like that, which it kind of comes all accomplished into one kind of thing, because it was just absolutely all part of the same bullshit that happened to me. So I used to be a apprentice butcher. I was an apprentice butcher for approximately, I think, about a year. It might have been even like really close to exactly a year, because I started at Christmas time and I worked until like the next Christmas, like just after that Christmas. So I think I worked just a little bit longer than a year. When I got the job, I was super excited for it, but I already didn't really want it that much, because I did the job, and immediately after doing like the first trial, like they make you do a trial where you walk in and serve a few customers, they show you the meat, make sure you're not squeamish, I guess. And I'm like, yeah, it's fucking fine. I immediately was like, I don't know about this, because I thought a butcher job meant like staying behind closed doors and just cutting meat and sort of thing, like preparing meats. When in reality, my job was going to be cleaning and serving customers / keeping like the front window full, and then every now and then I'd be allowed to hold a knife and maybe cut something. And I was like, it's not exactly what I want to do at all. And I was in the mindset very much so of I have like a very short life to live. I don't want to spend it fucking doing stuff I don't want to do, kind of thing. I still have that mindset. I mean, obviously, my mindset's changed a little bit since then, but it's still, I very much hate the idea of being stuck in a dead-end job that I don't like doing simply to try and make ends meet. And then you end up having not enough time to do the stuff you're working to get money for anyway. Like, I was very much in that mindset. So naturally, after about a year of working that job, and I thought maybe, I gave it a year, literally, like that was me giving it time. Like I thought, maybe if I give it a year, I'll like it more, or I'll start to like it more. It'll change even. That fucking orc just woke up and just ruined my hopes and dreams. So I gave it a year, and then I was like, this is exactly the same job as when I started. I still hate it the same amount as when I started. I'm leaving. There's a whole lot of other stuff that happened in that job that made me not like it as much, about like a lot of like weird shit in the workplace where my bosses were just. I don't like using the word bitches. I mean, I'll say bitches every now and then, just like a funny, humorous way, but these guys were actually like bitches, like female dogs. Like legitimately, I had a female manager boss and a 2IC boss. One was the 2IC was about 22, I think, at the time, and my boss was about 30. And they hated each other so much that they would just come to work every day and fight and yell at each other and get angry. And then the workers, like they just be angry all the time. So then everyone there who's a worker or an apprentice like me just copped shit nonstop. And naturally, being an apprentice, if I want to keep my job, I gotta be nice and do it like they say and just take their shit. I told them to get fucked a few times. I told I'd be fired a few times for saying get fucked and telling them to go fuck themselves. And I was just done. I was just done with that. Like I already didn't like the job. I wasn't gonna stick around dealing with that shit as well. So there came a day where I drove in, and it was just any other day. I was just a normal day, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go do this gob, and I gotta get it done. Gotta get some money. I went and did the first 3 hours, and the first 3 hours were my boss didn't show up for his shift. My boss, like the person that's supposed to be the fucking responsible one, didn't show up for his shift for 2 hours. So I got there. I knew how to open the shop because it had happened before. But I'm not meant to be the person that opens the store, and I'm not meant to be left there alone either, because I literally, like, I had to open a safe, take out money, put it in the till. If anything happens, and he's not there, I'm gonna get in trouble for it, because fucking, who stole the money was Pypo, obviously, but I didn't steal anything, obviously. So I did all that, served customers, tried to cut meat and shit, and open up and fill the window with all these fucking delicious meats and that kind of stuff, even though I was the apprentice and they weren't really teaching me anything for the first whole year. And so I did that for the first 2 hours of that shift, and he shows up, and immediately he's angry and talking shit. This was a different dude, by the way. My other managers weren't in that day for some reason, so I got a different, like, 2IC or manager for the day. He's angry and he's talking shit, and he's talking about how, like, good my life is, and he's like, because I said something about, like, you know, I shouldn't, like, have to open the store by myself and shit. Like, you realize that, right? It's like, you're fucking lucky to have a job here and blah, 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 and, like, it's super hard to get a job for this company, and we gave you an apprenticeship, and you should be happy and all this kind of crap. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I went on my first 15-minute break. I went kind of sat down, and on the 15-minute break, I was just kind of sitting there like, I didn't want to go back, and, like, I didn't want to go back so much so that I was like, I'm just not gonna do this. Like, I'm just not doing it. So I went back and got my phone, because my phone was there. I got my knives, because they make you buy your own shit. Even though it's an apprenticeship and they're supposed to, like, support you and buy you stuff, I had to buy my own, like, $300 knives and stuff. So naturally, I'm not going to leave those there. Get my knives, get my kit, get all my stuff, and I just walk out and leave. And I never called them or talked to them again. I assume they know by now I quit, since it's, like, two years later, but I just didn't. That was literally how I quit that job. I just left, and I think I had a few missed calls on my phone, but after, like, a day of them calling me, they just gave up, and I didn't talk to them anymore. And in my mind, like, it was 100% the right decision. I still think it was 100% the right decision, to be honest with you. I absolutely hated that job, and it was making me depressed. Working there was making me extremely depressed. Like, I just didn't... It gets to a point where I was literally judging, like, is it even worth doing this if you're this sad from doing stuff? Or either, like, this... Like, I was waking up at, like, 4 a.m. to drive 30 minutes away to a job, to work for fucking 10 to 11, sometimes 12 hours a day, and opening a store, closing a store, and having, like, zero assistance from any. Like, even if the job was fine, I wouldn't even mind working those hours. Like, it sucks, but it was the fact that the job was just, like, was shitty and I didn't like it. I was getting a qualification for something I didn't want to do, and everyone I worked with was cunts, pretty much. There was, like, one dude that worked there that was just, like, a server guy. Actually, no, he wasn't even a server, he was a washer. Like, it was just some high school kid that would come in the afternoons to get a little bit extra cash. And he was the only guy there. The only dude in the entire store that I could, like, talk to that wasn't, like, a cunt. Genuinely, like, that's a fucked up word to use, but they were just assholes, man. So I quit, and my immediate next plan was to join the army. Because I already was thinking about joining the army. I already was thinking of getting that shit done. But I was pretty overweight. So I wasn't, like, extremely overweight, but I was pretty overweight. So I decided to go and try and lose the weight. I mean, immediately I started the application process, but I knew I had to get fitter. I knew I had to gain weight. Not gain weight, to lose weight before I'd even be allowed to join. So I started the entire process. I started running. I got super motivated. I lost a shitload of weight. I think in total I ended up losing like 20 kilograms, which is a lot. And at the same time, like right about the same time when I lost the weight was the same time I started recording YouTube videos. If you go back to the beginning of my YouTube career, I guess it's not a career, but you know what I mean. I made videos like mount guides. I made stupid tanking videos. I was just dabbling in it because I always was interested in YouTube and wanted to do it. And I thought basically anyone who could do it was the luckiest people in the world. You know what I mean? Like I would see someone like making a living off YouTube, and I was like, in my mind I was like, how can you even get that lucky? Like that to me was insane. And so I thought, well, you know, they had to start somewhere, right? So why don't you just start doing it and see what happens? So that's pretty much what I did. I did it. I liked it. I recorded stuff. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed fucking the recording sessions. I enjoyed the editing. I enjoyed everything about it. And on top of that, it let me like speak bullshit, which I enjoy doing as well, just talking the most amount of shit ever. So I sat down, talked shit, did a few tank guides, talked a lot of crap, started all my kind of stuffs. But I took a bit of a break from it when my army stuff was getting processed. And basically what happened was I spent approximately, I think, 6 months. Like the process to getting into the army was super long. Fucking Larry saying Iron Man hype shout out, good lord. The application process was like the longest shit you would ever do. Like just to get in the army, man, they check everything. So I was doing police checks, doing health checks, doing all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, they leave 2 things to the last. And I don't know why this is, or if it was just like a happenstance that mine was left to last. But for some reason, they left colorblind test and the blood test until the day I had like the final interview. So what the final interview is, guys, for you guys that don't understand the application process, you apply online or over the phone. They give you a date to go down and do a U session. It's called a U session for some fucking reason. And they just tell you about the army. This is mandatory, by the way. You have to do this. You go down, they tell you about the army. They explain what will be happening in the army if you get in. They explain that there's a shitload of jobs and you should look into the ones you want to do and research them. And then you go home without actually even doing anything on the day. And you get a phone call from the army saying, hey, did you enjoy the U session? Are you still interested in joining? You say yes. And they're like, okay, what job are you thinking about doing? And they're like, okay, research that job. Find another job that you might want to do as well as for a backup. And I'm going to call you again in 3 weeks, and we're going to do a phone interview. And the phone interview isn't actually, they're not judging you in any way. They're just making sure you're ready for a real interview. That's legitimately what it is. So I do that. I research like jobs and shit that I want to do. I learn literally everything about them. And I research the fuck out of army and everything they do in the army, what fucking the starting thing is, what the camps are like. I researched everything because I was like, I wanted to get the job. She calls back in 8 weeks and does the phone interview. I nailed the fuck out of it. Just like, okay, you're definitely ready. When are you going to be available for an interview? I'm like, when's your earliest date? Her earliest date was in another like 4 to 5 weeks. So I'm like, okay, I'll take that, obviously. I'll take the soonest one we have. And on top of that, I tell her to make it at 8 a.m. The first interview slot that you have, make it for 8 a.m. I'll come and I'll do that. So I'm set up, I'm ready to go. On the day of the interview, I go down there. I get my mother to drive me down there. Because she just wanted to. I don't even think I had my car was registered at the time, maybe, or something. Either way, she ended up driving me down there. She drives me down, and at this point in time, I've been doing YouTube for a little bit, and I'm super fit. I'm really fit. I've lost all the weight. I'm fit as fuck. And I go in, and it's 8 a.m. I'm good to go. I'm dressed all nice, got the fucking like suit on and shit. And I tell them that I'm there. They give me a little pamphlet to fill out. They give me a pamphlet to fill out because the pamphlet is for the interview I'm about to do, because there's multiple interviews you have to do on the interview day, which is like a psych test from like a psychiatrist that judges if you're like mentally stable and shit. And then you do the job test, which is the job test where they basically like they base it on the job that you're actually going for, and if you're going to get it. And then you have another medical exam with the medical person there who does a colorblind test and does a like blood test and stuff like that. So I do all this, like I fill out the piece of paper. I sit there for maybe 3 hours. So it's like midday by the time the first person comes out to see me. So and by the way, I haven't eaten anything. It's 8 in the morning, and I didn't want to eat in the morning. even to this day, eating in the mornings just doesn't sit well with me for some reason. So I'm kind of just sitting there like it's 12. I'm starting to get really hungry, and this chick comes out. I get hyped because I'm like, oh, finally it's happening, and you kind of get like butterflies and stuff. And she does a psych test on me, and the psych test was fucking weird. Basically, they ask you every question they could think of that might get a reaction out of you, like weird. Like immediately, like she asked about my father because I guess that's a common like thing that people have fucked up fathers or something. And I mentioned that my father wasn't really in my life anymore and that sort of stuff. So immediately she started asking if she thinks that, if I personally think that I'm less manly for not having a dad, if she thinks that I need a father figure in my life, how have you handled living without a father figure? Do you think you're feminine now because of this kind of, like, these are legitimate questions she asked me. And she's like, do you like, what is that word? Do you yearn for a father figure? Stuff like this. And then she asked me if I recreationally drink, which at the time I didn't. I was like, no, I don't recreationally drink. And I guess she thought I was lying or something. I was like 19, 20 or something. So I guess she just assumed every 19 or 20-year-old dude is out drinking every day. So when she asked if I was drinking, I'm like, no, I don't recreationally drink. I don't do any kind of drug or anything like that. And immediately her whole tone changed, and she's like, you're clearly lying. Everyone drinks. You don't even drink a little bit? What about just for like a recreational, you're just down the pub with your friends? And I'm like, I've never even been to a pub, which to this day is true. I've never been to a pub. I've never drank at a pub. I was like, I don't recreationally drink. The last time I drank was on my 18th birthday. That's what I told her. And she's like, all right, fair enough. So do you think because you don't drink, you have less friends? And starts saying stuff like this. And she's like, just weird questions, man. Like weird, like, and this is a trained professional. I guess she's trying to get like to see if you're an angry person and if you're gonna react or some shit. Which I didn't because I knew it was like an interview, but at the same time I was like, man, you're just an asshole. You're just being an asshole to me for some reason. Anyway, that lasts about 30 minutes. I go back out to the same waiting room I've been in the entire time, and this is when I start watching other people come into the interviews, like late. They have like obviously a 12-hour slot or a 12 p.m. slot or whatever, and they immediately get in and do all their interviews. They immediately get in and do all of their interviews, all of them. They do their medical. I sit there and watch the doctor come out, call them in. I watch the psych person come out, call them in. I watch the fucking interviewer come out, call them in. Every person, I think it was about 5 people that all showed up at around 12 to 1. All of them got in. Every single one got in. And before me. And had left by 3 p.m. I'm still sitting there at 3 p.m. So I've been sitting there from 8 to 3. I'm starving, I'm hungry. I'm a little bit pissed off because I've been sitting there all day, and it's like, why did I even ask for the 8 a.m. slot if you guys weren't going to stick to it? I thought you guys were the army and you did this shit, like, this was what you did. Like, I don't know what how can you not be organized? So eventually, I go up and I'm like, hey, when's my next interview? I've been sitting there for fucking ages. And then she just says, oh, it'll be soon. It'll be soon. I go sit down, the medical person finally comes out. They're like, oh, fucking Pypo, come in. I go in, and it's this really, really old, I think Russian? It was German or Russian, I can't remember. Weird accent. She immediately makes me do a bunch of weird shit. Fucking, like, I'm not going to go into it, but it's a bunch of weird shit for the medical. But one of them is a blood test, which is basically the whole reason that I am fucked. Because she takes my blood test for some reason for the first time then. They didn't do it any other day. I had medicals before this that they could have done it at, but they didn't. They decided not to do it then for some reason. They do my blood test, and she basically tells me, your blood pressure is through the roof. Your blood pressure is way too high. Way too high. I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm not going to be able to do the job? She's like, no, you might just have something wrong with you that they can fix immediately, and if they can fix it, you're allowed to join, but until it's fixed, you won't be allowed to join. She's like, but still do your interview, obviously, because if you pass your interview, we'll still have you on a list, and you can get it fixed in the time that it takes to actually get, like, the process rolling to you to get into enlistment and join the actual army. So, alright, fucking whatever. It sucks, but whatever. And then I do a colorblind test. And I learned that I'm colorblind as dicks. I knew I was colorblind. I told them I was colorblind the entire time. I told them on the phone interview, hey, I'm colorblind. Is this going to be an issue? Each time they told me, no, it's not an issue. Most of the jobs don't matter if you have colorblindness. Well, what they should have said is it doesn't matter if you have slight colorblindness. My colorblindness is very rough. I can't tell the difference between red, greens, and whites. I failed a test that basically you have to tell the difference between red, green, and white, and I couldn't do it. I failed miserably. And after I did that test, she's like, okay, these jobs that you are about to interview for and you're about to go for, you can't fucking do. You're not allowed to do these because you're so colorblind. One of the jobs you had on your list, like at the bottom, was medical operator. That's the only job you can do with colorblindness. I was such like I was so into this army idea that I had already studied for all of it. So I was like, fine, I'll interview for the medical operator, no problem. She's like, okay, I'll let the interviewer know, which I guess means I have to sit there for even longer for that dude to prepare. So I sat in the fucking waiting room again from 3 to about 5, and I'm sitting there, and it's 5 p.m. at this point. I'm fucking starving. I'm so hungry. It's ridiculous. I'm starving, right? And then I go in, I do the medical operator interview at 5. And the interview was rough. I mean, it wasn't rough as in I didn't pass. The person actually said I would suit the army perfectly, and she's like, you definitely would suit the army perfectly. You have this, the mindset is what she said, or some bullshit. You have the mindset for it. And I was like, all right, cool. She's like, but you seem to not know as much about the medical operator job as I wish you would. And I'm like, well, that's because I wasn't prepared. I explained to her what had happened and blah, blah. She's like, oh, that's terrible. You know, that sucks. How about we give you a 6-month period where you have to learn about this and come back, and then we'll interview again just for the medical position. And I was like, is there any way we could do it sooner? You know, I don't want to have to. It's already been like almost a year of me waiting to join the army, or at least do this interview process. Can we just speed up? She's like, no. I'm gonna have to technically fail you because you don't know this enough about like the medical operator thing. I have to technically fail you, which means you have to do a minimum of 6 months research before you're allowed to come back and do another interview. So I'm like, fine, whatever, sign me up for the interview. Jesus fucking Christ. She signs me up, and I leave. I leave hungry, starving, and fucking sad at the whole day of just bullshit that is dealt with. And then I go to a doctor about my blood pressure, and they basically just tell me that I have high blood pressure. And I do about 1,000 tests. And when I say 1,000, I'm not even exaggerating. I literally mean I did 1,000 fucking tests. It was a lot of tests. And I basically discovered that I had nothing wrong with me except that my blood pressure was high. Meaning there's no way to fix it. And since there's no way to fix it, I'm not allowed to join the army. Even if I take pills, which this is what I do now because I have high blood pressure, I need to take a pill a day. I take a pill a day, it keeps my blood pressure down. Not allowed to have that in the army. Not allowed to do it. On top of that, I was like, okay, I can't join the army. I'll join the police force. You know, my game plan in life was literally, I'm gonna join the army. I'm gonna get like a decent amount of money. I'm gonna save up. Gonna get some skills from the army. When I leave, I'm gonna join the police force. And my dream job was to be a policeman that handled dogs, like a dog policeman, whatever the fuck they're called. I haven't looked into it because it wasn't something I was planning on doing immediately. But I looked into it. I called the cops, called them up, was like, hey, how do I go about applying for a job? They're like, go to this website right here, follow the steps, blah, 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 blah. And I did all that. And then halfway through the website, it's like, hey, guess what? In Australia, if you're colorblind, you're not allowed to be a police officer. And I was like, so yeah, it's everything I planned on doing, it was just rough and just failed. And since then, honestly, since like that police thing happened, I stopped planning for anything. Like I stopped like having a plan for the future. I stopped giving a shit about what I'm going to be doing later on. I kind of just do whatever the fuck I want to do in the moment. Okay? If I was looking for a job online, I found one that I thought was cool, I'd apply for it. If I found a job just randomly and was like, oh, this sounds like cool, and I'll do it now, I'd apply for it. But I stopped actually giving a shit about like my future almost, because I was like, everything I tried to do and wanted to do in the future, it just fell flat. It just fell on its face, and I just gave up. Trying. But at the same time, because all that shit failed, I started to do YouTube more and more and more because I had time. I had time to do it, so I was like, I'm gonna start doing this YouTube thing and see if this can happen. And the more I did it, the more subs I got, and the more fucking excited I got about it. So that's pretty much how I started doing this, and I haven't stopped since. And YouTube's kind of just become my hobby slash. I've always treated it like a job, even though I don't make much money from it. I've still treated it like a job that I enjoy. You know what I mean? Just because I don't actually have one, and so that's just kind of why I've been playing WoW and doing the YouTube videos and getting shit done. It's just because all my luck kind of just ran out trying to find a job. And that's what happened. I didn't mean for it to be like a sad story. I don't think it's that sad. I think everyone's life kind of has situations like this that happen to them. It's one of those things where I just kind of realized that I was 19 and I still had that kind of mindset of like, if you try hard enough, you can be anything. You know when people tell you that? Like, if you can try hard enough, you can be anything, blah, blah, blah. But it's just one of those things in life where I finally kind of realized that that's all bullshit, and it's just stuff you tell kids. You know what I mean? It's just like that weird bullshit hope thing they give children. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, that's cool. You can be that. You can work towards that. When reality is you're going to be able to do that if you're lucky and you work hard. If you work hard and you're not lucky, you're probably still not going to be able to do it. Like, that's just the harsh reality of it. It sucks. But that's going to be the first fucking leveling video, guys. I didn't mean for it to be a downer. I'm not sad in any way about it. This happened a long time ago. And since then, my life is amazing now as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to keep leveling as well. Like, I'm level 6 right now. Haven't had any trouble without the gear as of just yet. I think once I leave, like, the level 10 zone, I'm going to start having a lot of hard times. But as of right now, not too bad. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about the leveling series. How many download gear? I'll see you in the next video. See you later, guys.